Good afternoon. I'm Brenda Schroeb, the worship associate here at the Community Church of New York, and I welcome you on behalf of our ministry team, our staff, and all our lay leaders. It is good to be together, both in person and online. Community Church is a multiracial, multicultural, multi-generational congregation with a vision and commitment to build a world grounded in equity and inclusion. With me today is Jerry Brown, our Director of Music, Darnell White, our musician in residence, our talented choir, Reverend Jude Geiger, our Minister for Community Engagement, and Reverend Peggy Clarke, our Senior Minister. Community Church is in transition. We have sold our church building and are in the process of finding another in this neighborhood. We are guests here at the Church of the Incarnation. In the meantime, for which we are very grateful, even if this beautiful space isn't perfectly reflective of our theology. Children are always welcome during worship. Feel free to move around the space or to join children's programming happening in the loft. The sound of babies crying or children fidgeting is a beautiful part of being in community. Masks are optional, but encouraged. We ask that everyone be respectful of each other's decisions and need for personal space. Today's service is called The Madness of Love. Please rise in body or in spirit and join our opening song, Gather the Spirit, 347 in the gray hymnal.
This Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It's good to see you all today. I don't think I've seen some of you. It's been a few weeks since I've been here, so I'm happy to be back. Today we're talking about romantic love, which might not be something that you're used to hearing preached from a pulpit, but our faith understands the sacred is everywhere and that the full range of human emotions are holy. I also want to note that our physical space, we're just trying some things out. So you see people in different places at different microphones. We're trying to meet a lot of needs all at once, which is what we do. Let us start with our call to worship. Come into this shared space and bring your desire, that energy that inspires you to reach for greater, deeper life. Bring your ambition, that energy that pushes you toward more. Bring your passion, that energy that charges and inspires you. Don't be afraid of your sex appeal or your yearning or your craving. Gather all the pieces of yourself. Include your broken heart. Bring your sadness, your disappointment, an ongoing feeling of emptiness. It's all welcome here. All of who you are with all of who we are. This is what we mean when we say we will worship together. We will light our chalice.
We light this candle, the flame of our heritage. May it ignite hope in our lives, in our community, and in the world. Please join me as we do the unison affirmation. Unto the Church Universal, which is the depository of all ancient wisdom and all modern thought, which recognizes in all prophets a harmony, in all scriptures a unity, and through all dispensations a continuity, which abjures all that separates and divides, and always magnifies humanity and peace, which seeks truth in freedom, justice in love, and individual discipline in social duty, and which shall make of all persons one beloved community. Unto this church and unto all its members, known and unknown throughout the world, we pledge the allegiance of our hands and hearts.
invite you to join with me in our spoken in unison land acknowledgement. We are gathered on the unceded land of the Lenape peoples. We acknowledge the Lenape community, their elders, both past and present, as well as future generations. This acknowledgement demonstrates a commitment to beginning the process of working to dismantle the ongoing legacies of settler colonialism. This is the time in our service where I invite you all to make a joyful noise and greet one another, your neighbor. I invite you all to return to your seats. In a moment, we'll be entering into a time of silence, knowing with all the wiggles and sneezes and coughs of the world, it's not about the perfection of silence, but the intention. Beginning the time of silence, I will ring our chime, and I invite you to center yourselves to its sound. I invite you to join with me now in a spirit of prayer and meditation. Spirit of life, God of many names, source of love. Many of us across our nation are numb this week, overwhelmed with fear and uncertainty in the face of story after story of another person killed in our streets. Tyre Nichols from police brutality. So many killed by a gunman while celebrating the Lunar New Year in 2 different dance halls in California, and again at a farm worker site, also in California, this time targeting Asian and Latina victims. Let us hold a moment of silence for the injured and the dead. Mother of hope, we ask for our collective healing, while we know that the grief, the sorrow, and the fear that rests in our hearts may not heal anytime soon. We mourn with the victims' families whose lives have forever changed with the loss of their loved ones. Grant us a spirit of resolution to do the work of community building centered in justice, compassion, and accountability, ever knowing that violence never leads to justice for any of us. Help our nation to move through the impasse of pitting the value of Black lives against the support for the status quo. We ceaselessly pray for a time in our nation where gun violence does not plague our lands, where power and privilege cease to wage war on the rights of the individual for a life of meaning and substance, and we commit and recommit to doing the public work to change our practices and policies that lead us relentlessly down this tragic road. Spirit of life, remind us that in these perpetual times of tragedy and tumult, that as humans we are still allowed to feel joy, to experience love, that making space for love and joy is a sacred act that will sustain us, lift us up, and hold us well for the work of justice and the creation and recreation of community. We are all, ever and always, a combination of all our human emotions. And living fully into the depth of this mix that we call humanity, we commit to a genuine path that we call holy. Amen, and blessed be. Our musical meditation is hymn number 1012 in the Teal hymnal, When I Am Frightened.
This afternoon's reading is Consuming Desire by Katerina Vanderberg. I'm not making this up. In Cafe Latte's wine bar, one of the lovely co-eds at the next table touched John on the arm as if I wasn't even there. She said, "Excuse me, sir, but what is that naughty little dessert?" And I knew from the way he glanced at the frothy neckline of her blouse, then immediately cast his eyes on his plate before giving her a fatherly answer. He would have given up dessert 3 months for the chance to feed this one to her. I was stunned. John was hopeful. But the girl was hitting on his cake, though she told her friend until they left she didn't want any. I wish she wanted something. My husband, his cake, both at once. I wish she left insisting upon the beauty of his hands or his curls, the sublimeness of strawberries and angel food. But she was precocious. And I fear adulthood is the discipline of being above desire, cultivated after years of learning what you want, where, and how, after insisting that you will one day have it. I don't ever want to stop noticing a man like the one at the bar in his loosened tie reading the Star Tribune. I don't want to eat my cake with a baby spoon to force small bites as women's magazines suggest. And you don't want to either, do you? You want a big piece of this world. And you and I would love to have the whole thing. He sends the reading, Consuming Desire by Katerina Vanderburg. And then our response, our musical response is Love Can Build a Bridge.
Have you all met Michael? It's a new choir member.
Hey, Michael.
Say hello, Michael. If you haven't met him, maybe after service you can say hello. In 1963, Enos Del Mar and Jack Twist have a summer job herding sheep in the mountains of Wyoming. They fall in love, but pursuing a same-sex relationship is dangerous, so both men leave that summer and marry women. Over the course of the next 25 years, these men struggle with their tremendous passion for each other, grounded in an intense, lasting love, but tempered by the reality of the time and location of their lives. Not being willing or able to risk the loss of family or safety, they settle on loveless marriages and periodic fishing trips on Brokeback Mountain where they can be alone. It's during these trips they are each most alive and most authentically themselves. The months and years between are empty, often lifeless periods of waiting for the next time they can be together. Ultimately, Jack is killed, although Enos never really knows what happened and is left to live his life profoundly alone. In the final scene of the movie, Enos is in a room holding 2 t-shirts covered in his and his lover's blood. On this maybe bleak midwinter afternoon, I'm hoping to bring a little warmth, maybe some joy, hopefully a brief respite, by talking about love and desire. We're taking a break from our usually scheduled love as justice, and instead we're talking about romance. Romantic love is one of humanity's primary relationships. I talk often from the pulpit about the power of love in a changing world, the necessity of love as a tool for social justice. I have said many times, and I'm sure I've nearly worn out the word love, speaking it so many times it's gotten thin, smudged, faded, so much so it might actually disintegrate. But today I'm talking about romance, about falling in love, about living in love, and being so defined by love we can't even tell it's there anymore. Love is all-encompassing, life-altering, world-changing, mind-blowing, family-creating, and family-destroying. It might be the most powerful experience a human can have. The loss of love or the loss of a loved one is equally explosive and life-defining. The madness of love. Or in the case of Jack and Enos, the madness of a society that blocks love. But that is so often the case. Regarding love and sex, we have been regulating that forever. The practice of regulating it is as ancient as civilization, but desire cannot be regulated. Romeo was a Montague, Juliet a Capulet. Their families were sworn enemies, but they met at a ball and fell madly in love. After the party in what is now famously called the balcony scene, Romeo sneaks into the Capulet orchard and overhears Juliet at her window, vowing her love to him in spite of her family's hatred of his family. Romeo makes himself known to her, and they agree to be married, a promise that comes to pass the next day. After their secret wedding and one night together, Juliet's father agrees to offer her hand in marriage to a suitor named Paris. In an attempt to get away from her fate, Juliet drinks a potion that will make her appear dead. Romeo, thinking his lover is gone, kills himself. When she awakens, Juliet sees her husband dead and follows him to her death. That story always strikes me as both an epic love story and a little bit ridiculous. I mean, they met, they married, they died for each other. It was like 72 hours. And then I remember that they were teenagers, so maybe not completely unrealistic. But regardless of the timeline, it's a classic love story, an ancient story rewritten and timelessly memorialized by Shakespeare and reimagined over and over again for every new possible contemporary context. We can't stop telling the story, hearing the story, because love captivates us. We've all known love or wished we knew love so powerful we weren't willing to live without it. It becomes the life of our very cells in our bodies, the breath we need to continue minute to minute. The experience of falling in love doesn't last a lifetime, but it can set the stage for a lifetime. Real lives are filled with the mundane, with doing dishes and running errands and answering phones and feeding children and going to meetings and living on a budget. Doing those things as you build and sustain a life with someone you love alters the nature of daily life. We often speak of falling in love as if love is stumbled into, or being in love as if it's a permanent condition. Both phrases imply that nothing is easier or more natural than love. And yet, there's hardly any human enterprise which begins with such hope and expectation and fails so regularly. Love takes time, and effort, and training. It is not for beginners, which Romeo and Juliet found out the hard way. When we talk about finding a mate, we often talk about becoming desired. Stand in front of any collection of popular magazines and it's really quite apparent. The problem most people think they have is not loving better, but becoming more lovable. For men, that often translates to money and power. For women, all too often, we focus on physical beauty, and second to those things for every gender is the ability to maintain interesting conversations, to be funny, to be well-mannered. Being lovable becomes a mixture of being popular and having sex appeal, as any high school sophomore will tell you. It's as if there's nothing to be learned about love, that the problem is one of the object, not the faculty. In other words, we think loving is easy. The difficulty is finding the right person to love, the object of my affection. The difficulty is being attractive enough to someone I desire. Love becomes an extension of our consumer culture. We spend our courtship years, which happen between the ages of 10 and 100, window shopping. We marry when we have found the best item on the market given our own spending limitations. But real love requires much more than making the right purchase, more than being desired by the one you desire. I mean, that could make for a very fun weekend, but then you're done. Love is what happens after. What happens when the falling is over and you've landed in a home with a partner? And it's good to remember that real love isn't a feeling. Feelings come and go. Scott Peck taught us a long time ago, love is a decision. Love is a difficult and lasting decision, a decision to be present and honest and fully yourself while encouraging growth and offering support for another. And while that decision can be changed, that it's been, once you've made the decision, you create a container for the rest of your lives. We can feel angry, but that anger is held in the framework of love. We can feel disappointed or bored, but the decision to love still encircles us. It's why we can disagree and decide to talk about it later. We know we're together, that most things aren't urgent, and that the container we've wrapped ourselves in will hold. Authentic love is also by its nature self-generating. It multiplies, it expands, it rehearses abundance in generosity. Many years ago, I was presiding at a wedding for two people entering their second marriage. They had a mature love, one that drew people in and sent them back out with an experience of great joy. I had told them not to pay me for the wedding, so instead, they pulled up to my house with a car filled with flowers to be planted in my garden. When they opened the back of their car, I gasped. There was so much color and life filling this car, and it seemed like this perfect reflection of their relationship, just filled with love that multiplies generously. Real love extends beyond ourselves and into the world. It's not about desiring one other person, but about loving one person so much it spills onto the streets. One of my favorite moments in the Romeo and Juliet tale is when Romeo refuses to fight. Romeo is confronted by one of Juliet's kinsmen and challenges him to a duel. He's challenged to a duel, but Romeo sees his former enemies as his future family and can't bring himself to participate. Love has expanded to include even this man he hardly knows and is supposed to hate. True love is inclusive, opening the lovers to union with all of life. Love awakens us to existence outside ourselves. We can suddenly see the other no longer as enemy, but as family. Living with someone for a long time, growing older with someone, living in the averageness of daily life doesn't preclude a need for passion. That's why I just love that opening reading that Brenda read so perfectly. Whenever I read that poem, I think she wrote it with such sass, and it just really, that came through. It's such a regular moment, right? She's in this cafe, she's with her husband, something they've done 1,000 times together, but a young woman leans over and asks about his dessert, and the author yearns for a life in that moment in which people are reaching for so much more than what's in front of them, where people are accepting their own lust and giving into it, even just a little bit. She enjoys that her husband feels something, wants something, that he's still alive, and so is she. And she can get to that place because they've been together for a long time, because she trusts her husband. She isn't living in constant insecurity. She's learned something about love. She's learned how to find and offer room in that container of marriage. She's learned not to be afraid of hunger, not to be afraid to want something or to allow her husband to desire something more. It's how we grow. It's how we stay alive. We accept and love the life we are living, and we reach for more. Within the container of joy and commitment with a partner, we stay alive by reaching for more. Falling in love, agreeing to share your life with someone is a risk. You could get your heart broken. It happens all the time, which, if it's ever happened to you, is difficult to believe. I mean, how can people function once that's happened? How do you get up in the morning, get kids off to school, get to work, have conversations? How do you gather the energy just to take a shower once your beloved has cheated on you, or left you for someone else, or told you you're no longer loved? How do you move forward when your lover has been diagnosed with a terminal illness or died in a car accident? Can you continue when your heart has been broken? And maybe it's better not to take the risk, better to let love move right by you, to remain unnoticed, safe, and alone. Love is so likely to end badly, it might just be best to stay away. And yet, even with millions of books and movies and songs going back through the ages warning us, it's a risk most of us take at some time. We want more from life than what we have. We want to live bolder and sing louder and feel stronger than we do. We want the feeling of falling in love, of standing in love, of living in love, of creating a life with somebody. UU minister Reverend Bob Janis wrote a poem that I just love. It's called The Hunter. Love, the hunter. Love roams the earth looking for victims, sacrifices to the high God. She is not inescapable. Some days we're too fast, too wary. Once I was able to disguise myself as a man looking at a train timetable, and she went right on by until I started looking at the numbers too closely, and I enjoyed the way the 4 looked next to the 8, and I was flattened. If love catches you, then that's it for you, I'm afraid. Or you may find a moment or two out of her clutches, a time to reminisce about when the days were your own and you were the one trying to capture the world and bring it home. But in the end, there is only one pit and we all fall in. And though it's not the fire that consumes us, everything that brought us to this point, down to our very flesh, will be destroyed. But at that point, you won't care very much, for you will become a part of love itself. Maybe love is, after all, more of a gatherer. Ultimately, we want to be caught, want to burn in a fire, to be destroyed in a pit, melt into love. We might even want to love so ferociously we're willing to die or even kill to protect it. Like Enos and Jack, we're willing to risk everything we have, because when love is real, nothing is more powerful or beautiful or more necessary. We're not here to live numb, cold lives, to play it safe. Nobody gets out alive. We're here to live boldly, to risk mightily. We're here to love what our bodies love, to be with the people we can't live without, to climb balconies in the middle of the night and profess love unto death. That's what it means to be alive, to be a people of desire. That is the joy and the madness of love. Please rise in body or in spirit. Let's sing together. Come sing a song with me, number 346.
Life at Community is busy, whether we are online or in person. It is our hope that wherever you are and in whatever way you are comfortable engaging in the mission and ministry of this church, we have provided opportunities for you. We've started a Dungeons and Dragons game that meets online. If you'd like to join, see Reverend Jude. Community Church of New York is co-ordaining our recent intern, Carrie McAvoy. The service will be on Sunday, March 5th in Westport, Connecticut. We are working to provide transportation, so we need to know who will be joining us. There's a sign-up sheet in the back, or you can contact Fred Corden directly. Today is the last day to sign up for the volunteer choir. There's a sign-up sheet in the back also. We're starting Bring a Friend to Church Days. By request, we're intentionally designing some services to be particularly friendly to visitors. March 26th will be the first, so write it down and bring a friend to church. When I was leaving home today, I had the television on, and Dana Bash of CNN, she said that Tari Nichols is remembered as a beautiful soul with a creative eye. I just wanted to share with you what he said. On most weekends, he would head to the city park, train his camera on the sky, and wait for the sun to set. He said, photography helps me to look at the world in a more creative way. It expresses me in ways I cannot write down for people. That's what he wrote on his website. He preferred landscapes and loved the glow of sunsets most, his family has said. My vision is to bring my viewers deep into what I am seeing through my eye and out through my lens, he wrote. People have a story to tell. Why not capture it? What a wonderful spirit. In light of the horrific murder of Tari Nichols, we are hoping you all will be willing to send a postcard to your representative calling for an end to police violence. We have some of those postcards in the back. Please take one. If you'd like to fill it out here, we can even mail it for you. We are a 7-day church and have programs running every day of the week. You can find more information in the program and on our website. Our ushers will now pass a plate for our collection. If you are new here, let the plate go by with no pressure to give. We are glad for your presence. All gifts offered are accepted in gratitude.
You can find the chalice extinguishing on the back of your order of service. please join me. Knowing how quickly the flame of truth may be extinguished, how easily the chalice of fellowship broken, let us be vigilant in faith, keep peace in our hearts, and make care for one another the watchword of our lives together. So our light goes out everywhere into the world. Our light goes out everywhere into the world where healing and hope are needed. Let us go in peace to love and serve this world and one another. It's good to be with you.
Say I'll move the mountain, and I'll move the mountain. If you want it out of the way, crazy he calls me. Sure I'm crazy, crazy in love, I'd say. Say I'll walk through fire, and I'll walk through fire. If she wants it, it shall be. Crazy, she calls me. Sure, I'm crazy.